She told me the baby was mine for 3 years. The truth came out in a courtroom. I became a father on a Wednesday in March, or I believed I did, which for 3 years amounted to the same thing. Celeste and I had been together for 2 years when she became pregnant. The relationship had the kind of history that looks unstable from the outside and feels like home from the inside. 2 separations, 1 significant argument that took months to fully resolve, a foundation that was genuinely loving and genuinely complicated in equal measure. When she told me about the pregnancy, I felt something shift in me with the irreversibility of a structural change. I was going to be someone's father. I reorganized my entire understanding of the next several decades around that fact before I had left the room. My daughter Senna arrived healthy and loud and with an expression of profound indignation that she has largely maintained across the 3 years I have known her. I was present for her birth. I was present for everything after it. The sleepless early months, the first words, the particular terror of a high fever at 14 months that had me in an emergency waiting room at 2 in the morning, bargaining privately with the universe. I built my life around her presence in it the way you build around something load-bearing. Completely and without reservation. Celeste and I separated when Senna was 18 months old. The separation was mutual and sad in the way of things that are genuinely over rather than dramatically broken. We agreed on informal arrangements that worked adequately for almost a year before they stopped working and lawyers became involved. The custody proceedings were not hostile initially. They became hostile when Celeste's attorney introduced, in a session I had not been prepared for, a document suggesting that a formal paternity confirmation had never been established and that the question of biological parentage remained legally an open one. I sat in that room and heard those words and experienced something I do not have clean language for. Not anger initially. Something more foundational than anger. The particular vertigo of a person watching the ground shift beneath something they had considered immovable. The test was court-ordered. I agreed to it immediately and without hesitation because I had no reason to hesitate, and because the confidence I felt was the confidence of someone who has spent 3 years being someone's father and cannot conceive of the arithmetic producing any other result. The result was not what I had expected. I will not describe the period that followed in detail because it belongs to a category of private experience. I am not willing to render into content. What I will say is that it was the longest several weeks of my life, and that I emerged from it changed in ways I'm still in the process of understanding. What I will also say is this: Senna did not change. She was 3 years old. She called me the name she had always called me. She fell asleep on my shoulder at the same weight she had always been. Whatever the document said about biology, the 3 years were real, and the load-bearing nature of what I had built around her was real, and the law, to its credit, agreed with me on this point, with more clarity than I had dared to hope for. The judge's determination was thorough. It considered the established relationship, the consistent presence, the documented involvement across every significant moment of Senna's life. It used the word psychological parent in a way that my attorney had prepared me for, and that landed differently than preparation had suggested it would, with a weight that was simultaneously clinical and the most accurate thing anyone had said about me in that entire proceeding. I have shared custody. The arrangements are formal now in the way that things become formal when trust has been comprehensively restructured. Celeste and I communicate through channels designed for function rather than warmth, and I have made my peace with that being the available version of our relationship going forward. Senna spent last weekend with me. We made something in the kitchen that was supposed to be pancakes and became, through a collaborative series of misjudgments, something adjacent to pancakes that we ate anyway with considerable satisfaction. She told me while eating that she had decided clouds were just sky puddles, which I found so quietly extraordinary that I had to look at the ceiling for a moment before responding. I told her I thought she was probably right. She nodded with the confidence of someone who has not yet learned to doubt the quality of her own thinking. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that takes as long as possible to change.